Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome to my next Let's Play. Welcome back to the return of the driver. The wheelman is back in Driver 2.
I'm gonna pop your neck with my hands. You'll wish you never met me.
Maybe he don't even exist.
Vasquez. All guesses play even. Well, Lenny's gonna show next.
If Kane gets to him, Pink Lenny's gonna show up in pieces. All over Illinois.
So what is it Lenny knows?
Just to find Lenny.
It's only a matter of time. Vasquez will come back for you.
Well, it looks like we're going to be dealing with another fun story where our undercover FBI agent, the master of the wheel, the best driver, is going to be able to crash himself into another amazing story. Welcome to Driver 2. As you may remember, the first Driver game, released on the PlayStation and the PC, we were able to drive around 4 great cities, do an amazing epic story where we infiltrated a criminal gang in order to stop their illegal activities. And you've guessed it, that actually was successful enough in order to earn itself a successor. This time made by a different developing team, however it was made in the same style. We're going to be driving around through 4 new cities, bigger and better than they were in the first Driver game, where we can do more of the driving games that we are used to, and of course also live ourselves through an amazing story, which is also going to be a lot more epic than the one in the first Driver game. We can expect more of the same, long story short. However, in a better way. Yeah, this is also something we can use in order to show it off. If you actually don't touch anything in the main menu, the demos that are present in this game will automatically start. Just like in the first Driver game, we're of course going to be able to record these ourselves as well. Driving around, making awesome little cinematic videos of it, using different camera angles. But there's actually also a couple of pre-recorded ones in this game. And this way we're going to be able to see how it works. It's pretty much the same as in the first Driver game. But this one, unlike the first Driver game, actually being PlayStation 1 exclusive. This was only released on PlayStation 1. Never got a re-release or anything. It can therefore be considered a pretty rare video game. But it's still, indeed, the second Driver game where we once again are going to be crawling behind the wheel as Tanner, the undercover FBI agent. Which is very suiting because of his awesome driving skills to infiltrate enemy gangs. They are always looking for a good getaway driver. Here in this demo it actually did not look like to be very successful. He actually got caught by the police. All of the aspects we know from the first game return. Let's go see if we can cover them. We've got Undercover, which is the story mode of this game of course. But similar to the first game, there are more things we can actually do in this game. Undercover, once again, there's a story in this game. Of course, something I will be covering as the final part of each city I will cover. We were already able to see a preview of it in the opening cutscene. The game actually used open up. Quickly cover the rest before getting behind the wheel ourselves. Take a ride is just the sandbox mode, the free play mode, where we can just drive through the cities. As you can see, like I promised, there's going to be 4 new ones. And this time around, not exclusively in the US. We now have Chicago and Las Vegas. However, we also go abroad. We actually go to Havana and Rio. And with Rio, we mean Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. However, those final 2 are locked. Just like Los Angeles and New York were in the first game. We first need to progress through the story before we are allowed to play around there. Besides that, I think it actually all speaks for itself. The thing we will actually be using to start the project I will cover last, and therefore we're going to continue in options mode. Here's all the things we can actually play around with here in the menus, playing around in the menus. Sound is the first one. Not a whole lot of options. We can actually decide what the volume of the sound effects is going to be, and of course also what the balance of the music is going to be. I think the most amazing thing in this is the picture on the background. Gameplay. Just like in the first game, we can determine the cup difficulty. 3 difficulties. Actually only affects take a right mode, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think survival or undercover are actually part of this, but correct me if I'm wrong. Subtitles in the cutscenes, of course also only in undercover mode. It's the only mode that actually has cutscenes. Those we can also turn on and off. Vibration only applies whenever you use DualShock, of course, which I do not. Speaking of which, here's the controller I'm using, and here is all of the buttons we can actually use. Pretty much the entire layout from the first driver game returns here. However, there are a couple of new options. Something we're able to look at the bottom of the screen. As you can see, it says press the X button for tenor controls. You may be asking, what does it mean with tenor controls? Well, in this game we're not just going to be riding around in a car. Sometimes we can actually also be on foot. And then these controls actually apply. Pressing triangle in order to access a car again, or to do a certain action. And actually press square to walk backwards. Interesting. Remember those controls. This final one we're going to be covering a lot later because, sorry, no secrets. And therefore, at the beginning of the game, we are going to be done with this one quite quickly. Just remember, just like in the first game, there are secrets. But not at the beginning of the game. The final 3 options, let's quickly go over high scores. This one kind of speaks for itself. All of the driving games that we're going to be doing, we can actually save our records. And we can view them here. Should look familiar, all of these games. Every single one of them is also in the first game, so we'll go over them in a minute, because that is where we will actually start this project. Center screen, also something I can quickly show off. Not something we actually have to do something with, but we can actually move around the center of the screen in this game. Just mentioning, not something we actually have to do, of course. And the final option is saving and loading. All of the settings we have actually applied, we can save on the memory card, so we don't have to do it every single time we restart the game. For that reason, these options are also actually available here. Replays. Like I said, you can actually record all of the shenanigans that you perform in this game and make awesome little cinematic movies out of them, just like in the first game. Or you can just watch the pre-recorded ones. I'm pretty sure the one that actually loaded in at the main menu just now was showcase number 1. But there is indeed 3 more. Just remember that. Now let's go talk about multiplayer quickly. Like I do in every single game, I'm once again going to say I am not going to be able to cover this. I've only got 1 controller. Just remember, there is also a multiplayer aspect in this game. And in fact, 2 of the modes are exclusive to multiplayer, Cops and Robbers and Capture the Flag. And those do not appear in the regular driving games. But taking a ride and doing checkpoint, that is of course also in single player. Well, that quickly takes care of all of the main menu business in this game. Now it is finally time, almost 10 minutes in the video I see, to finally get behind the wheel ourselves and do the driving games to actually get started with. Unlike in the first game, there is no training mode in this game, so no awesome way to get started learning how to drive. And we just go over the driving games in order to start showing off all of the cities. I actually plan on doing it in the same way I covered Driver 1. All of these should actually look familiar. We get started with Quick Chase. Quick Chase is of course the mode where we are being the policeman ourselves. We actually need to stop a car instead of getting stopped ourselves. And that's actually what happens in the second mode. But more about that in a minute. First we're going to be chasing ourselves. Our first introduction in the streets of Chicago. The first city in this game. Still think it's unfortunate that there's no training mode anymore in this game. It was a perfect way to actually start the project, definitely. Actually learning how to drive. In this game I'm therefore forced to start with the driving games. But here we can also learn how it works. It's pretty much the same as the first game, so luckily you don't have to learn a whole lot. I'm just going to assume you know how driver 1 still works. Oh, it actually does not apply to me though. I clearly don't know how driver 1 works. Let's go try that again. Press circle for burnout. Not per se faster than starting normally. Actually accelerating with the cross button, but still. It looks more awesome. Still more fun to do it that way. What do we know about that? Now let's go talk about our goal. Try to stop this guy. In modes like these, the cars that we actually need to chase are on a predetermined path. I'm pretty sure they always go the same route. Therefore, we're also not going to be able to knock them off course. The best way to try to get these guys is to simply touch them. Don't try to actually knock them off course. It will only do slight damage and we're not going to be able to knock them off course. No, yeah, what we want to do is try to touch them. It does not have to be a hard ram. Just touching them will already give them damage. However, it does not mean it's going to be easy to do it like that. Especially since his first driving game is not easy. This guy actually drives around under the rail tracks. That is usually not the easiest place to drive around. Oh, and I'm also noticing there's not a whole lot of time. But luckily we were already there. Yeah, I guess this one is already pretty difficult to do. This one is rather short, there's not a whole lot of time. And since the location where we do the driving is also not the easiest, through the grass under the rail tracks, with all of the pillars we can actually bump into. That one is not easy. But let's go turn it around. This time around we are going to be the one to be chased. And for this mode we actually have two options. We can actually do a downtown one and Wrigleyville. Of course, I will be showing off both of them. I'm the kind of guy who actually shows off both of them. We know how it works if we want to chase someone, but now we are the ones being chased. And this time around it's going to be actual cops and robbers. Now it's the police who's going to be chasing us. And we need to lose them. There's no countdown, as you can see, it immediately begins. And our goal is indeed to lose the tail. One thing that's also turned around is the time limit. This time there is no time limit. We can take all the time we need. Of course, if we want to go for a high score, we want to try to go and do this as fast as we can. Once again, meeting up with some train tracks. Yeah, this is Chicago after all, so nice job designing the city. No. Police actually rammed another car. Oh, and he's right behind me, so I'm not really doing that well, I guess. One of the best tricks to use in this game is actually try to steer around obstacles like other cars or pillars of train tracks, for instance. Try to see if I'm able to do that. Approach this car from the left, for instance, and then immediately steer to the right. And yeah, as you can hear, the police will then crash into it. This is the best way to get them off your tail. You do need to note in this mode it is not possible to destroy the police cars. They actually have infinite health. I can actually understand why they made the police cars have infinite health in Getaway. Because the goal is actually to lose them. Actually, literally get them off our ass. Just remember, just like in the first game, we're also able to destroy the police cars, actually make them run out of health. That way they will also normally get off our tail. But in this mode it actually doesn't work like that. Here, you have to lose them like this. I was trying to build up to an epic release of this mode, but he was still able to keep up with me a bit longer than I thought. But there he finally went. And that is how this mode works. And that way we have both been chasing a car and also have been the one being chased. With this one we actually are going to be doing twice, because Getaway actually has a second location where we start. Downtown is just one of them. Wrigleyville is all the way at the north part of the map. And therefore the streets are going to be different. And the mode is therefore going to be different. Let's go do this second one. Not too sure how many of these modes I'm going to be doing today, but I'll see how many I can actually fit into this episode. Oh, you even get a different colored car. Nice. I've got a red car now. I think I like the grey one more, but still. Yeah, I don't care, I want to get rid of you. I love how the police is always saying stuff through the police radio. We're also going to be able to hear it. They actually say stuff like, he drove through red light. But I think he's already pretty far behind me. Yeah, but he's already got it. Although he was still approaching me. But hey, the game already called it. He lost us, so it counts. Pretty good record, 22 seconds. That was pretty well done. And that way we don't actually waste a lot of time on this one. And we can quickly move on to the next one. This one being the first actual driving challenge. Here it truly feels like we are the driver. Because now we are gate racing. There's once again going to be 2 tracks we can do. And here we actually need to use our skills as a driver. Both in Trailblazer and gate racing, things are actually really tough. And here we need to prove our control over our vehicle. I think it is easy to guess what we need to do if you are new to the driver series. Here we need to actually drive through 2 cones that are going to be placed on the road, functioning as a gate. As you can see, this is how it works. Going through the middle will actually count as a gate. Hitting one of the cones will actually cost you 1 second penalty. And of course will also knock your maximum high score down to 99, because there's going to be 99 plus 1 gates. It is going to be a bit too much to ask to go for a perfect run. Starts off easy, as you can see, pretty big gates. A lot of room to maneuver ourselves through the gates, even though I already screwed up one of the first ones. But like I said, I'm not going to go try to do a perfect run here. The run I will actually try to go for is trying to reach the end. Even that is not always a guarantee. Running out of time is easily done here. We always start with 30 seconds, and every single time you drive through a gate successfully, you will actually receive 1 extra second. And I missed the gate. I don't want anybody screaming in the comments. I actually noticed I missed one, but I kind of missed my approach when steering, and therefore I couldn't quite go for it anymore. But this is indeed how it's supposed to go. 30 seconds to start. Missing a gate will actually not give you an extra second. Missing a gate completely because of you hitting the cone, you will even lose a second. You will actually get a second penalty. And whenever going through a gate successfully, you will receive 1 extra second. And that way we need to try to reach the end. Try to see what our high score is going to be. If you're really good at this, you can try to go for the perfect 100. But I'm the kind of guy who's really satisfied if I'm going to be able to do 90. Especially since, like I promised, it's indeed going to be a lot more difficult later on. The further we get on these tracks, the closer and closer the traffic cones are going to be placed. And therefore, the tighter and tighter these gates are going to be. And also take in account that the other traffic is going to be annoying as hell. Not even always going to give us the opportunity to even go through these gates. At least not without wasting a whole lot of time. And this can actually be pretty nasty at the end. The other traffic can already be annoying at the beginning, but at the end it is definitely hell to deal with them. But even then, never impossible to reach the end. 92 gates. Not bad. Not bad. Like I said, usually I'm not even able to get 90, so I will take a 92. And that way I will consider that mode complete. Now let's quickly do a second one. And that way I'm going to be able to claim that I've completed the first 3 driving games in Chicago as an awesome little tutorial for this game, with the lack of an actual training mode in this game. If you want training first, go play Driver 1, or just watch the Driver 1 project that I made a very long time ago. There we learn how to drive, and here in Driver 2 it is not per se that different. Now let's go close off this first episode with a nice little stroll through the park. I think this one is a lot more difficult than the first one was, so might need 2 tries here, but we'll see. can actually remember this one because of needing to drive through the grass and through the trees. It'll be a lot more difficult, technically speaking, then. Of course, we also have a lot less traffic because of being off-road a bit more. But this one is not going to be exclusively off-roading. Sometimes we do still go onto the regular streets. Not a whole lot, indeed. It's most of all driving through the grass, of course, having a lot less grip. It's going to be a lot more difficult to deal with. But hopefully we're also going to be able to do this one. Not like that, of course. Hitting cones, losing seconds. Oh, this is going terrible so far. Let's go try to make it a goal for ourselves. To try to score 90 at least for each and every single one of these. Doing a perfect run on these is a bit too much to ask. Something I'm also not going to go for on Trailblazer, by the way. A mode that's going to be comparable to this one. Reaching the end and reaching at least 90 at the end. That's something I feel safe making a goal for myself. This one already proven to be difficult. Also because of the car that I'm using. I must admit the car that I'm driving around in right now is not my favorite one in Chicago. This one actually has terrible turning, I feel. There's not a whole lot of control on this one. And being forced to use this one off-road is not per se that... Oh! Amazing. Stupid tree. And you can sound the horn all you want, but I'm already going off-road. Well, there goes my goal of reaching 90. I've already failed in the first episode. Yeah, but like I said, this one is very difficult. And speaking of difficult, it is also going to be difficult to continue this episode, and therefore I will not. More than 20 minutes have passed. And this has been the introduction to Driver 2. Forced to begin with the driving games, but also still fun to play around with. Of course, Undercover is going to be the most important part of this project yet again. Hope to see you folks next time when we continue with the driving games in Chicago. And then, of course, after that, continuing with the story mode to truly begin with this game. See you folks next time. And I will say, Treecks and Tanner out.